evening and welcome to Just the News on a Monday evening. Let's get you all of the news that took place today. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced a 2.28 lakh crore rupee stimulus package, which comprises of 8 major economic relief measures to aid a recovery from COVID. Here are the major takeaways from that announcement. 1.1 lakh crore rupee loan guarantee scheme for COVID affected sectors. Out of this, 50,000 crore rupees will be for the health sector, 60,000 crore rupees will be for other sectors. An emergency credit line guarantee scheme. This is part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat package that was announced last year. There's an additional 1.5 lakh crore rupee on this, over and above the 3 lakh crore that was announced last year. A new credit guarantee scheme to give loans to small borrowers, which should be a maximum of 1.25 lakh rupees at 2%. That's below the RBI, at 2% below the RBI's prescribed rate. For the tourism sector, a 1 lakh rupee loan for the 11,000 registered tourist guides and 10 lakh rupee loan for travel and tourism stakeholders. Now, in reaction to this, most of these announcements are still in the form of loans that people have to take and then pay back. Now, just 4 days ago, I want to remind you, there was a report that was brought out by the consortium of associations, which basically said that 73% of the SMEs in our country did not make a profit in FY21. 60% of them have reduced their staff, which means people have lost their jobs, and 88% of them had not availed of any of the government announcements from the previous year. So there's really no big innovation here. It's an extension of loan guarantees that the government gave last year. In other news, over this weekend, in a first of its kind terror attack on our country, 2 explosive devices were dropped from a suspected drone attack on the Indian Air Force station in Jammu early on Sunday. 2 back-to-back explosions occurred, which according to sources in the Indian Express happened at 1:30 o'clock, so 1:37 a.m. and 1:42 a.m. It injured 2 Air Force personnel. The roof of the building was damaged badly, but the explosive devices missed the aircraft hangar that was close by. No valuable equipment was damaged in the attack. Now, security officials have said that some aerial platform was used to drop the bombs. However, whether or not it was a drone is a matter of investigation. The Air Force station is, though, about 14 to 15 kilometers from the nearest point of the international border with Pakistan. So this is the furthest that a drone from Pakistan has come until now on the Indian side of the international border, or the line of control in the Jammu region, which was up till now about 12 kilometers. And a day after those blasts at the Indian Air Force base, 2 drones were spotted over the military camp in Jammu in Kaluchak. The drones were seen flying inside the military station. Army Jawans fired at the drones and neutralized them. A high alert has been issued in Jammu, particularly in army stations. A special officer of Jammu and Kashmir, along with his wife and daughter, have been killed by militants who barged into their home and fired at them. Fayaz Ahmed, his daughter, and his wife were at home when militants barged into their house at around 11 p.m. on Sunday night. They were rushed to the local hospital, but the SPO and his wife succumbed to their injuries. Their daughter, Rafia, who was initially shifted to a larger hospital for treatment, passed away this morning. Police have said the 2 Jaish-e-Mohammed militants, including a foreigner, were involved in the killing. Inspector General of Police of Kashmir, Vijay Kumar, has said, and I quote, "There is movement of militants in the area. 2 terrorists came in last night. One of them, from appearance, appears to be a foreign terrorist. We will soon identify and neutralize them." End quote. Europe has now come up with a new vaccine passport called a Green Pass program. It recognizes a few vaccines so that their recipients are able to travel in and out of Europe with fewer roadblocks than others. The program includes AstraZeneca's vaccine that's manufactured overseas, but doesn't include Covishield, which is the AstraZeneca vaccine that's manufactured in India. Now, Covishield is a version of AstraZeneca's vaccine from overseas. Now, the Serum Institute of Pune that makes Covishield, which is licensed from AstraZeneca, according to the wire, did not apply for that license. Now, the wire has said that it has written confirmation from the European Medicines Agency that it doesn't have an application from the Serum Institute of India. But when it became clear that India's Covishield is not included on the list from Europe, whereas it has been approved for usage in many countries. There was, of course, widespread outrage and panic about whether or not people will be able to travel. Is it going to affect future travel? And some accusations on Twitter about white supremacy. Now, Serum Institute of India CEO Adar Poonawalla has said, and I quote on Twitter, "I realize a lot of Indians who've taken Covishield are facing issues with travel to Europe. I assure everyone I have taken this up at the highest levels and hope to resolve the matter soon, both with regulators and at a diplomatic level with countries." The EU has approved 4 vaccines, which is Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca, which is the shot manufactured in Europe, which is called the Vaxzevria. In order to have a valid COVID certificate, a person should be vaccinated by one of these 4 vaccines, and this will enable restriction-free movement within the EU bloc. According to NDTV, Twitter may face fresh government action for publishing an incorrect map of India on its website, which allegedly shows Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh as not part of India. The distorted map was flagged by a Twitter user and since then has generated many angry reactions and demands for punishment, incidentally, on Twitter. The map is on the page which talks about the company's employee benefits. It marks the Twitter offices across the world and the areas from where employees can work remotely for those Twitter offices. In another update, Twitter's grievance officer, Dharmendra Chatur, has quit just weeks after his appointment as the grievance officer. Twitter has now appointed its US-based global legal policy director, Jeremy Kessel, as the grievance officer for India. However, according to the new IT rules, the grievance officer should be an Indian resident. India on Monday has successfully test-fired a new version of nuclear-capable Agni ballistic missile known as Agni Prime off the coast of Odisha. The missile range is between 1,000 and 2,000 kilometers. In a statement, the Defense Research Development Organization, or the DRDO, has said, and I quote, "Various telemetry and radar stations positioned along the east coast tracked and monitored the missile. The missile followed textbook trajectory, meeting all missions objectives with high level of accuracy," end quote. On to some more updates on COVID from India. Niti Aayog member Dr. V.K. Paul has said there's no scientific data so far to establish that the Delta Plus variant of COVID adversely impacts vaccine efficacy in any way. Talking about also the WHO approval for Bharat Biotech's Covaxin, he said, and I quote, "The process of getting WHO emergency use approval for Covaxin is proceeding very well. Hope the decision comes soon. The government is also discussing ways to approve Pfizer, Moderna's COVID vaccines for India at the earliest." According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, India has undercounted its COVID death numbers by hundreds of thousands. Remember, India's official recorded COVID death is at 3.9 lakh deaths so far in the entire pandemic. However, according to the University of Washington's Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, scientists there believe that the true death toll of India may be close to or may exceed 1.1 million, which is over 11 lakh, 3 times more than the actual number reported. Health experts have told the Wall Street Journal that an accurate count of both COVID infections and death is important as part of the understanding on how big the new threat of new variants are. In the meantime, India recorded 46,148 new COVID cases and 979 deaths in the last 24 hours. This is the first time since the 12th of April that the number of deaths have fallen below 1,000 a day. Kerala remained the worst affected state at 10,905 cases, followed by Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. Remember, all of last week, Kerala was reporting close to 12,000 cases, so it's come down by 2,000, which is good news. The National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization chairperson Dr. N.K. Arora has announced that a COVID vaccine for children above the age of 12 is likely to be available at the end of July or August. In a statement, Dr. Arora said, and I quote, "Trial for the Zydus Cadila vaccine is almost complete. By July end or in August, we may be able to start administering this vaccine to children between the age group of 12 to 18, end quote. The Supreme Court of India on Monday refused to entertain a plea that was seeking directions from the court for the framing of a policy to protect the rights and dignity of the dead, given the number of dead bodies that were being dumped in rivers as crematoriums overran and ambulance services were overcharging. It said that the Supreme Court, while dismissing the plea, instructed the petitioners to approach the National Human Rights Commission for the same, as per quoted by Live Law. The Supreme Court said that because this situation is not current and is not still happening, they would be better off approaching the National Human Rights Commission. The bench observed, and I quote, "You have referred to some of the recommendations of the National Human Rights Commission, and the Commission was asked to respond. You go to the National Human Rights Commission. How many forums will you approach? You've already approached the High Court. The High Court gave a direction. The NHRC has also interfered." Moving on now to news coming in from the world of business and economy. This weekend, fuel prices in India were hiked again. This is the 14th hike in the month of June, taking petrol to above the 100-litre mark in more state capitals. The price of petrol in Bihar's Patna and Kerala's Thiruvananthapuram has now risen to 100 rupees and 47 paise and 100 rupees and 44 paise respectively. Mumbai, which is one of the most expensive cities for fuel in the country, is currently paying 104 rupees and 56 paise for petrol and 96 rupees and 42 paise for diesel. Delhi is at 98 and 46, and diesel is 88 in Delhi. As of today, thankfully, petrol prices remained unchanged. But given the global sort of outlook on crude and the fact that the Indian government doesn't look like it's going to reduce taxes anytime soon, one would expect these prices to continue to increase. News coming in right now from across the world. US President Joe Biden ordered airstrikes against facilities used by Iran-backed militia groups in Iraq and Syria border region on Sunday. These are the second such attacks ordered under the Biden administration and came in response to unmanned aerial vehicle attacks against US personnel and facilities in Iraq. In a statement, the US Department of Defense said President Biden has been clear that he will act to protect US personnel. Given the ongoing series of attacks by Iran-backed groups targeting the US interests in Iraq, the president directed further military action to disrupt and deter such attacks. We have some positive updates coming in the world of sports today. Indian archer Deepika Kumari has regained her world #1 position following her hat-trick of gold medals at the World Cup Stage 3 in Paris on Sunday. 27-year-old Deepika Kumari won gold medals in 3 events, in women's individual, women's team and the mixed team events. BCCI President Sourav Ganguly has announced the T20 World Cup, scheduled to be held in India later this year, is being shifted to the UAE owing to health and safety concerns of COVID. Earlier, the ICC had given the BCCI a 4-week window to decide and inform whether India would host the event because of the COVID situation. In football, defending champions Portugal have been knocked out of the Euro 2020 by Belgium in the round of 16. Belgium won the match 1-0 to reach the quarterfinals, where they will face Italy. Also, the Czech Republic reached the quarterfinals after a shocking win over Netherlands in a 2-0 game. Tonight's game, France will face off with Switzerland for a spot in the quarterfinals as well. In a tweet on Sunday, BCCI has introduced the captain and the coach of the Indian cricket team for the upcoming tour of Sri Lanka. Shikhar Dhawan will be the captain of the Indian cricket team and Rahul Dravid will coach the team. Regular captain Virat Koli, head coach Ravi Shastri are in England getting ready for the upcoming 5-test match series there. India will play Sri Lanka in 3 one-day internationals and 3 T20 matches, and fans have been flooding social media with heartwarming messages calling Rahul Dravid as the most awaited coach of the Indian cricket team. And one piece of positive news before we leave you for the day. India's very own Prajakta Koli, of course, was part of a documentary with Michelle Obama that has now won the prestigious Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Daytime Non-Fiction Special. The documentary was titled Creators for Change YouTube Original Documentary. It basically talked about empowering young girls and women across the world. The show features celebrity guests sharing inspiring anecdotes about their journey, the struggle and what kept them going. It focuses, like I said, on women empowerment and education of women. Well, we applaud Prajakta Koli. We wish her very, very well. And we know that this is just the beginning. in a very illustrious career. That brings us to the end, of course, of Just the News today. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, if you're on YouTube, remember to like this video and comment on this video. The more likes we get and the more comments we get, the algorithm of YouTube picks up this video and pushes it further, which means we'll be able to reach more people who haven't seen Just the News so far, which will, of course, help us a great deal. So we really hope that you will do that for us. It helps us provide this service to more and more people. The other thing you can do for us is to tell friends and family that there is such a service where you get just the news without any opinion. Remember, I always keep a quiz question for you at the end of the bulletin. This is your question for today. India's cricket team, the men's cricket team, is on its way to Sri Lanka for a limited series with the Sri Lankan team. Who is the coach of the team for this series? Leave your answer, of course, in the comment section. I'll give you a thumbs up if you give us the right answer. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.